A new artist has emerged. It never sleeps, never tires, and it's learning from everything humanity has ever created. But is it an artist or an assassin?
The explosion of generative artificial intelligence has ignited one of the most ferocious debates of our time. On one side, a chorus of voices proclaims the death of art as we know it. We see artists marching in protest, their anger echoing across platforms like ArtStation, where they feel their life's work is being used to train their replacements. We see the picket lines in Hollywood, where writers and actors fought to protect their very likenesses from being replaced by synthetic performers. The fear is palpable, summed up by a sentiment that AI art simply washes out the artist. On the other side, a new kind of art is fetching astronomical prices in the world's most prestigious auction houses. A single AI-generated portrait sold for $432,500, signaling a seismic shift in the art market. This has left us with a profound and polarizing question. Is this the end of human creativity? A final, fatal blow to the soul of the artist? Or is this the dawn of a new renaissance, a technological revolution that will not kill art, but will instead empower us all to become the master artists we've always imagined ourselves to be?
You're watching Cyborg Digest, where we break down the smartest tools and tech in minutes.
Part 1. The New Canvas. An Introduction. The conflict runs deeper than just a new piece of software. It is an existential one, touching upon our very definition of what it means to be human and to create. The language of the opposition is very telling. They speak of AI art as soulless, as an insult to life itself, as something devoid of human intent. These are not technical complaints. They are philosophical and moral objections. The economic anxieties, while real, point to a fear of a more fundamental collapse of the structure of our creative industries. This is a battle for the identity of the artist in an age of intelligent machines. Today we will embark on a deep dive into this controversy. We will explore the idea that AI is not killing the artist, but is instead killing the labor. It is a force that could transform every visionary with a grand idea into a creative director, capable of orchestrating symphonies of light and sound that were once the exclusive domain of sprawling studios and billionaire patrons. This is the story of whether AI is the end of art or the beginning of its next great evolution. Part 2. The Indictment. Art without a soul?
To understand the promise of artificial intelligence in art, we must first give a full and fair hearing to the powerful arguments leveled against it.
The opposition's case is not born of simple technophobia. It is a complex tapestry woven from philosophical conviction, economic anxiety, and legitimate legal grievances. It is an argument that AI art lacks a soul, threatens livelihoods, and is built on a foundation of theft. A. The argument from lived experience. The soul of the artist. The most profound objection to AI art is philosophical. It posits that true art is inextricably linked to human consciousness, emotion, and lived experience, qualities a machine by its very nature cannot possess. The most poignant expression of this view comes from the legendary animator Hayao Miyazaki. In a now famous 2016 clip, he was shown a demonstration of an AI animated figure, a grotesque, zombie-like creature that moved by dragging itself with its head. The presenters proudly explained that the AI could invent grotesque movements that we humans can't imagine. Miyazaki's reaction was not one of technological wonder, but of deep and visceral disgust. He explained that the animation reminded him of a close friend with a severe disability, for whom even the simplest movements, like a high five, were a daily struggle. He said, with quiet fury, "Whoever creates this stuff has no idea what pain is whatsoever. I am utterly disgusted. I strongly feel that this is an insult to life itself." Miyazaki's critique was not merely about the unpleasantness of the specific animation. It was a profound statement on the source of art. For him, Art must be grounded in an understanding of the human condition, including pain and struggle. The AI's creativity was, in his eyes, a hollow, unfeeling mimicry. This led to his broader, more chilling conclusion. I feel like we are nearing the end of times. We humans are losing faith in ourselves. He saw the turn towards machine creation as a symptom of humanity abdicating its own essential role as the wellspring of meaning. This sentiment is echoed in grassroots movements within the artistic community. When AI-generated dolls or action figures went viral, illustrators pushed back, with the hashtag #StarterPackNoAI trend. They didn't just criticize the AI images, they created their own hand-drawn versions to showcase what was missing. The critics argue the following. AI can replicate a style, but it cannot understand the cultural context that birthed it, the artist's intention that guides it, or the beautiful imperfections that give it character. It can generate an image in the style of Studio Ghibli, for instance, but it cannot replicate the specific hopes and anxieties of a post-war Japanese culture that are woven into every frame of Miyazaki's films. The AI sees style as a surface to be copied, glossing over the subtle, emotive details, the unique shapes of protagonists' eyes, the way an expression is animated differently to convey character, treating them as inconsistencies to be smoothed over by a consistent brush. It is, in this view, art without an artist, a technically proficient but ultimately empty vessel. But here's the irony. The very animation under this segment, the one you're watching right now, was created using AI. And it feels powerful, emotional, and yes, even soulful. Why? Because it wasn't just the machine at work. It was me, the artist, guiding it, choosing the prompts, refining the scenes, framing the mood. The truth is, these critics are not wrong to defend the soul of art, but they are wrong to think that AI kills it by default. AI has no soul of its own, but it can become a vessel for ours. It doesn't replace feeling, it reflects it, amplifies it if, and only if, the artist behind it is still feeling something worth sharing. B. The argument from livelihood, the economic threat. Beyond the philosophical debate lies a more immediate and tangible fear: economic extinction. For countless working artists, AI represents a direct threat to their livelihood, a tool that could devalue their skills and automate their jobs out of existence. This fear was the explosive core of the 2023 Hollywood strikes, where both the Writers Guild of America, WGA, and the Screen Actors Guild, SAG-AFTRA, made AI protections a central demand. Actress and computer scientist Justine Bateman, serving as an advisor to SAG-AFTRA, became a prominent voice articulating this threat. Her concern was not just about AI creating scripts or replacing background actors. She warned of loopholes in studio contracts that could allow for the creation of synthetic performers, or human-looking AI objects, to replace human actors entirely, a scenario she argued could collapse the structure of Hollywood as we know it. This is the distressed nightmare scenario for actors, their very likeness, the core of their professional identity, being turned into a digital asset owned and controlled by a corporation. This anxiety extends far beyond Hollywood. Digital artists and illustrators have watched with growing alarm as AI image generators become capable of producing polished work in seconds, a task that would take a human artist years of training and hours of labor. This leads to a fundamental fear of devaluation. When the technical craft can be automated, the economic value of that craft is threatened. Movements like the hashtag #StarterPackNoAI protest are not just philosophical statements. They are desperate attempts to reclaim creative spaces and remind the public of the value of human skill in a world flooded with cheapened art. The fear is that the artist will be washed away by a tide of instantly generated, commercially good enough content. C. The argument from legality, the original sin of copyright. The final pillar of the case against AI art is legal, and it centers on what many artists consider to be an act of mass-scale theft. The power of generative AI models like Midjourney or Stable Diffusion comes from their training. They learn to create by analyzing billions of images and texts scraped from across the internet. A significant portion of this training data consists of copyrighted works, paintings, photographs, and illustrations that were used without the permission of or compensation to the original artists. This has led to widespread outrage and organized protest. In a notable act of digital defiance, artists on the portfolio site ArtStation flooded the platform's trending page with the same image, a stark, "No AI Art" logo. It was a coordinated effort to protest the fact that their own work, hosted on that very site, was being used to train the AI models they saw as an existential threat. They view this practice as the original sin of AI art. The models are built upon the uncredited and uncompensated labor of the very human creators they are poised to displace. The legal system is still struggling to catch up. The U.S. Copyright Office has issued guidance stating that for a work to be copyrightable, it must be the product of human authorship. An image generated by AI from a simple text prompt, like a cat in the style of Van Gogh, cannot be copyrighted. However, the waters get murky in cases of hybrid authorship. If a human artist significantly modifies, curates, and arranges AI-generated elements to create a new piece, they may be able to copyright their own creative contributions to the final work, but not the underlying AI-generated parts. This creates a complex and uncertain legal landscape for creators. AI companies have defended their training practices under the legal doctrine of fair use, arguing that using copyrighted works to train a model is a transformative act. They compare it to a human artist learning by studying the works of many masters. The AI isn't storing and reproducing copies, but learning statistical patterns to generate something new. This argument is currently being tested in courts across the country. Some early rulings, such as Bart's v. Anthropic, have suggested that training an AI can indeed be considered fair use, particularly if the AI's function is fundamentally different from the original purpose of the works and does not harm the market for them. However, the legal battle is far from over, leaving the fundamental question of data rights unresolved. When viewed together, these three lines of attack, the philosophical, the economic, and the legal, form a single, cohesive, and powerful narrative. It is a compelling indictment that frames AI as a parasitic force, one that consumes the very essence of human art to create a hollow and ultimately destructive echo. Part 3. A familiar fear. When the camera threatened the canvas.
The sense of existential dread surrounding AI art feels unprecedented.
As if we are facing a challenge to creativity that is entirely new. But history offers a powerful parallel, a moment when another revolutionary technology was met with the same mixture of fear, derision, and apocalyptic prediction. To understand the future of art in the age of AI, we must first look back to the 19th century and the moment the camera first threatened to kill the canvas. A. From today, painting is dead. Upon first seeing a daguerreotype in the 1840s, the influential French academic painter Paul Delaroche is said to have declared,
"From today, painting is dead."
While the quote's authenticity is debated, it perfectly captures the panic that gripped the art world. For centuries, a primary function of painting had been mimesis, the realistic representation of the world. Suddenly, a machine could do it better, faster, and cheaper. The initial reaction from the artistic and critical establishment was dismissive and hostile. Photography was not seen as art, but as a purely mechanical, scientific process. One critic in an 1855 issue of The Crayon wrote that photography was merely a thoughtless mechanism for replication, one that lacked the refined feeling and sentiment which animate the productions of a man of genius. The consensus was that because a machine was involved, the medium was inherently soulless and could never ascend to the level of a fine art. The most eloquent and ferocious critic was the poet Charles Baudelaire. In his review of the Paris Salon of 1859, the first to include photographs, he launched a blistering attack on the new medium. He argued that photography was art's
most mortal enemy. and its popularity is the fault of an idolatrous multitude who foolishly believe that art is the exact reproduction of nature.
For Baudelaire, art's domain was the impalpable and the imaginary, a realm of the soul that a machine could never touch. He insisted that photography must remain a very humble servant to the arts and sciences, a tool for documentation like printing or shorthand, but never a creator in its own right. His language, full of scorn for a mechanical process encroaching on the sacred ground of human expression, is strikingly similar to the critiques leveled against AI today. B. An unforeseen renaissance, how the threat became a catalyst. The dire predictions of Delaroche and Baudelaire, however, proved spectacularly wrong. Photography did not kill painting. In a profound and counterintuitive twist, it liberated it, acting as the primary catalyst for the birth of modern art. The camera's ability to perfectly capture reality freed painters from what had become the shackles of realism. The pinnacle of artistic skill was no longer defined by mimetic accuracy. This posed a new revolutionary question for painters.
What can a painting do that a photograph cannot?
The answers to this question redefined the very purpose of art and gave rise to a series of groundbreaking movements. The Impressionists, for example, became obsessed with capturing the very things a camera, with its long exposure times, struggled with, the fleeting, transient effects of light and atmosphere. Claude Monet wasn't trying to paint a perfect picture of a haystack, he was trying to paint the impression of the light on that haystack at a specific moment in time. The focus of art began to shift from the objective world to the artist's subjective perception of it. This shift continued with movements like Expressionism and Symbolism, which delved even deeper into the internal world of emotion, dreams, and psychology, the very soul that critics had claimed photography lacked. Artists like Edvard Munch declared,
"I have no fear of photography as long as it cannot be used in heaven and in hell."
I am going to paint people who breathe, feel, love, and suffer. Painting was no longer about what the eye sees, but what the heart feels. This led to bold experiments with color, abstraction, and new compositional techniques, many of which were, with some irony, influenced by the candid, snapshot aesthetic of photography itself. Furthermore, even as many painters publicly denounced photography, they secretly embraced it as a powerful new tool. Artists from Eugene Delacroix to Edgar Degas used photographs as references to study anatomy, movement, and composition, allowing them to focus their creative energy on thematic and stylistic experimentation. This historical episode reveals a clear and powerful pattern. When a new technology emerges that can automate a core function of an existing art form, that art form does not die. Instead, it is forced to undergo a profound reevaluation of its purpose. It evolves, shedding the now automated function and redefining its core value around the qualities that remain uniquely human. When the camera automated realism, painting rediscovered its soul in subjectivity, emotion, and the visible mark of the artist's hand. This historical precedent provides a compelling framework for understanding our current moment. The existential threat posed by AI is not a death sentence for art, but a powerful evolutionary pressure that will force us to discover what in the 21st century is the irreplaceable essence of human creativity. Part 4. The Revolution, the Artist as Director.
Just as the camera did not replace the painter, but instead gave birth to the photographer and revolutionized painting, artificial intelligence is not replacing the artist. It is forging a new kind of creator and providing existing artists with tools of unprecedented power.
The argument that AI will lead to a homogeneous, soulless future misunderstands its fundamental function.
AI is not an author. It is an amplifier. It is a democratizing force that dismantles the immense barriers of labor, time, and cost, transforming the artist from a solitary craftsperson into the visionary director of their own grand productions. A. Democratizing the masterpiece, the indie filmmaker's new superpower. For decades, bringing a truly epic vision to the screen was the exclusive privilege of major Hollywood studios, with 9-figure budgets and armies of technicians. Grandiose ideas were constrained by practical realities. AI is systematically demolishing these constraints. It is emerging as the great equalizer in filmmaking, a superpower that gives independent creators access to a virtual production house on their laptop. Across every stage of production, AI is streamlining the process. In pre-production, AI assistants help brainstorm ideas and refine dialogue. In production, AI-powered drones capture breathtaking aerial shots. And now, the most groundbreaking tools, like Google's new Veo 3, can generate entire cinematic scenes from a simple text prompt. Imagine describing a rainy, neon-lit cyberpunk alleyway.
Imagine bringing me to life with your imagination and a text prompt.
The quality gap between indie and blockbuster is shrinking at an astonishing rate. Film has always been a tech-based business, and AI is the latest technology to break open the gates.
Oh, no, Malcolm. What are you doing here?
And all this time, I was trying to make it right.
It proves that a compelling vision, amplified by the right tools, no longer requires industry connections or a studio's green light to be realized on the grandest possible scale.
You lied to me. I thought you were single.
I didn't lie.
B, the new artist's workshop. From Renaissance Atelier to AI co-pilot. The model of the artist as a solitary genius, toiling alone in a studio, is largely a romantic invention of the modernist era. The grander history of art is a history of collaboration. The great masters of the Renaissance did not paint every background figure or mix every pigment themselves. They ran bustling workshops, directing teams of apprentices and assistants who carried out their vision. This model of the artist as a creative director, a conductor of talent and labor, has continued into the modern era with figures who operate at the largest scale. While a figure like Picasso, for instance, used assistants like Julio Gonzalez for fabricating sculptures, his public persona largely fit the modernist ideal of the lone creator. More potent analogies for the AI-assisted artist can be found in contemporary masters of large-scale production. In filmmaking, James Cameron exemplifies the director as a master of both art and technology. He is known for his meticulous hands-on involvement in every stage of his films, from writing to editing. Yet his epics are only possible through the leadership of massive, highly specialized teams and his willingness to push technology to its limits. He is the ultimate creative director, uniting a vast crew and a suite of groundbreaking technologies under a single, unrelenting vision. Artificial intelligence is the next logical step in this long history of creative collaboration. It takes the workshop or studio model and scales it down to the individual. AI becomes the ultimate assistant, the tireless apprentice, the virtual effects house. It allows a single creator to operate as the creative director of their own vision, using prompts and parameters to guide the AI in executing the specialized and laborious tasks that once required immense teams and budgets. The artist is not replaced. Their role is elevated. They are freed from the tyranny of manual execution to focus purely on what has always been the heart of great art: the idea, the vision, the story. Part 5. Conclusion. Standing on the shoulders of digital giants. In a 1675 letter, Sir Isaac Newton famously wrote,
If I have seen further, it is by standing on the shoulders of giants.
This wasn't a boast, but an expression of profound humility. Newton was acknowledging that his own monumental achievements were only possible because he could build upon the foundational discoveries of the great scientific giants who came before him, like Descartes and Kepler. The phrase is the ultimate tribute to the power of collective learning, the unique ability of our species to share, preserve, and build upon knowledge across generations. This principle extends directly to the arts. There's an old aphorism, famously paraphrased by Steve Jobs and often attributed to Picasso, that states, Good artists copy, great artists steal. This isn't an endorsement of plagiarism, but a profound insight into the nature of creativity. It suggests that true innovation doesn't happen in a vacuum. It comes from deeply internalizing the work of the masters who came before, absorbing their techniques and ideas so thoroughly that they become part of your own artistic DNA, allowing you to synthesize them into something entirely new. This is the artistic expression of standing on the shoulders of giants, but where a human artist's capacity to learn and synthesize is limited by a single lifetime, and AI's is virtually infinite. It can analyze and learn from the entire history of human art at a scale and speed that is incomprehensible to us. It is the ultimate student, capable of seeing the patterns and connections across every movement and every master simultaneously. Understanding this provides the perfect lens through which to view the entire AI and art debate. The generative AI models that are causing such turmoil are, in the most literal and profound sense, standing on the shoulders of giants. They are the embodiment of collective learning on a scale never before witnessed. These models are trained on vast datasets containing a significant portion of humanity's recorded visual history. Every painting, drawing, photograph, and text, they can be fed. They are vessels for our collective artistic knowledge.
The evidence leads to a clear conclusion.
AI does not kill art. It kills the tedious, repetitive, and expensive labor that has for centuries stood between the artist's vision and its realization. It does not replace human creativity. It amplifies it, providing a tool that can accelerate ideation, overcome technical limitations, and open up entirely new aesthetic territories. It does not make the artist obsolete. It redefines the artist's role, elevating it from craftsperson to visionary, from laborer to curator, from soloist to the conductor, the maestro, of a powerful collaboration between human intent and machine execution. This is not the end of art. This is art ascending to a new stage of its evolution. The debate, therefore, should not be if we use this powerful new technology, but how we integrate it into our culture responsibly. And we must create clear legal pathways for protecting the new forms of art that emerge from human-AI collaboration. The greatest challenge, however, is not legal or technical, but cultural. It is a challenge to artists and creators everywhere. Do not fear this new technology. Do not see it as an enemy. See it as the most powerful, most knowledgeable, and most tireless collaborator ever conceived.
Seize it. Bend it to your will. Push it to its limits.
Stand upon the shoulders of this digital giant and show us the new, unimaginable worlds that you, and only you, can create.
And that's exactly what this channel is about. This is Cyborg Digest, your weekly briefing on the tools and ideas that are upgrading humanity. We'll break down the latest in AI, explore the science of cognitive enhancement, and test the practical tech that extends your capabilities. If you believe technology should be a tool for empowerment, you're in the right place.
That's your upgrade for today. Subscribe to stay ahead or get left behind. This is Cyborg Digest.